For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thank you so much for tuning in today. 30 minutes of time-wasting fun is coming your way. And, you know, I gotta tell you, I'm a washed-up has-been. I'm just gonna put it right out there if you haven't already figured it out. If you've listened to this show, you know I'm an old-school radio guy. I was in the newspaper for 20 years. I'm old. I'm past my prime, as Don Lemon would say, and I'm okay with that. I'm just fine with that. Here's why. Because I was able to retire at the age of 39 years old. So now my day mostly consists of sleeping until 12:30 in the afternoon, leisurely lounging around the house, perhaps walking the dogs, then going for lunch with my amazingly hot fitness model husband, and maybe having a nap in the afternoon, and watching TV, dining out, and really not giving a fuck about the world, I'll be honest with you. So here's the deal, though. I did an interview recently, and I was referred to as an influencer. That's, to me, here's the thing. I'm a trained journalist. I took journalism in school over 20 years ago. And so when somebody first said, when they had read my newspaper column, and they referred to it as my blog, oh, I read your blog, that is a slap in the face to a trained, traditional journalist. So to be called an influencer, and I always say that with kind of a lisp, if you've ever heard me say it, right? An influencer. Subscribe, make sure to like the comments below, or whatever, however you say it. I don't remember how you say it. What is it? Subscribe or drop a comment below, whatever. I don't fall into that. I don't care. It's not my thing. So somebody called me an influencer, and that for some reason just strikes a nerve. It hits a nerve in me. But here's the thing, is that during the interview, I kind of educated the person, and this was probably entirely cut out. I haven't even listened to it or heard, what I said, but I kind of educated. I was like, well, here's the deal, though. When you're an influencer, such and such and such happens. When you're a trained journalist, such and such happens. So I'm going to talk to you, podcast listener, about that such and such, and explain the differences and why influencers should probably have some kind of a backup plan, because it ain't going to last forever. That's coming up on The Scribble right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
JB here on The Scribble. Okay, so is there a threshold? What makes you an influencer? Is it when you have 5,000 followers? Is it 10,000? Is it 1 million views? Is it like what is it that makes somebody an influencer? Now, I had never heard that term before until I was on a press trip up in Yukon. Now, I've told this story on the show before, but since we're heading in that direction again, I'll just quickly recap. Normally, when we would do a press trip for our syndicated radio shows, it was just me and perhaps our team going on location, and it would be just us with the tourism board and then local, business owners or whatever it was. We would tape a bunch of different segments showing how wonderful this place is, and then we'd get the hell out of there and we'd go home. And so I was going to Yukon by myself, and I was meeting up with, apparently, I didn't know this until I think I was getting there, that there were going to be 2 bloggers that were participating in this press trip. And I kind of thought, well, whatever. I'm here to tape an entire show. Like, we're doing full-on broadcast here. A blogger is going to take pictures of their food and really just give you opinion as to what they thought about, the fancy hotel or what the bathroom in the hotel room looked like. So I just always kind of went into this thinking that we're on two totally different levels. So I get to Yukon. I had checked in. I always stayed in the same hotel. So they, the shuttle or whoever it was that picked me up at the airport, brings me to the hotel. I go, give them my name. They already know because the tourism board arranged it. And there were these two women sitting in the hotel lobby. And I kind of thought, okay, well, maybe this is them. They just, whatever, seemed. And so I go up to my room, kind of drop everything. And I was doing dinner with the tourism guy that night. I had worked with him many times before. We had, over the course of, I don't even know if it was 10 years, we had done 4 or 5 trips there. We'd, gone every other year, perhaps even. So I go up to the room, kind of drop my stuff, come downstairs. Well, those two women are still sitting there. So I can see them kind of looking at me. I was just doing my own thing, whatever. And then one of them comes up. Oh, are you Jeremy? Yes. Oh, hi, I'm so-and-so. Oh, hi, nice to meet you. Yeah, we're doing dinner with you. And I was like, okay, fine. So there's going to be the two of them, me, and then the tourism guy, 4 of us. So he ends up coming, picks us up, and then we all go. Now, these two women got there a day before I did, and they had already spent a day with the tourism guy. And I hadn't seen him in a while, so we were kind of getting caught up. And we're having this conversation, him and I, at the dinner table. And, how are things, da-da-da-da. And these women who were sitting beside us are kind of trying to interject and sizing up. I had just come back we had taped another. This was, I think, in January or February, and we had just taped a bunch of Christmas stuff in Montreal and Houston. So I had been, traveling quite a bit over the past, month and a half or whatever it was. So I had said, to the guy, oh yeah, I'd just done, Texas. And then these women are interrupting, talking about the press trips they've gone on and the last one that they did. And I kind of thought, to me, that seems very amateurish because that's somebody who is just trying to one-up you. They're trying to, kind of make it look like they're, and they were also, by the way, from Toronto. So right there, they're kind of, hoity-toity that they're, oh, you're from Winnipeg? Oh, you do, oh, you're in traditional, radio? Oh, you're in the newspaper? And I thought, well, I've got fucking union money and you're living in your parents' basement in Toronto trying to slug it out, and you're not even doing a specific piece, by the way. You're just prospecting. It's kind of like, well, I'm just going to do this. And then if I happen to write something and I just take pictures of my food all day, well, so be it, but I got a free trip. Anyway, so I didn't have this resentment for them right off the bat. It grew over time. I think we were together for 3 or 4 days. So in this one dinner, I kind of thought it was on my radar going, here they are trying to, one up me, or they're trying to, make it seem like they've done more trips or whatever than I have or whatever. And I was kind of like, I'm not bothered by this. So, because you have to remember too, that at that point in my career, I was doing Hollywood red carpets. My time was split between Winnipeg and West Hollywood. I had homes in 2 countries. And so, I was on a first name basis with many, many, many publicists, many celebrities. I had celebrities in my phone. I wasn't insecure about what I was doing or what I'd accomplished in my career at that point. So this dinner, goes by. I kind of thought, wow, these women are really annoying. And I could see they were also trying to one-up each other as well. Because, one talks about Montreal, and then the other one was like, oh, well, did you do this? I did this when I was there. Oh, I did. Shut the fuck up. You two talk. I'm talking with my boy here. And, there you go. We can have 2 different conversations. That's okay. You two talk, and we'll talk over here. So we're then together for another day or whatever. And then we went to this kind of rural, we had to get on a tiny little plane, and we ended up flying to this remote area where we had individual cottages to ourselves. And so I was kind of like, okay, cool. Well, the tourism guy wasn't staying there. So there were 3 little individual cottages. We each had one. And I had to do dinner with these 2. So, I was kind of like, whatever, fine. They're doing the pictures because they're Toronto and they're, rural northern Canada. So this was totally out of the box for them. They're doing all their pictures and selfies and what have you. And so I meet up with them for dinner. And they had, I guess, been researching me. They had been looking me up because they had either, knew my name or whatever, so they found my social media. I was not on Instagram at the time. So we're sitting at the table and they're basically they're sizing me up. Now they've got me one-on-one and they start to ask about, my career and whatever. And I said, well, I've been in the newspaper for however many years it was at the time. I don't remember now, but it was at least over 10 years I was in the same newspaper every week. And then I'd been hosting my radio shows for, and like I said, we were doing red carpet stuff. Like this was kind of big time. At the time, like, here's the thing. For being an independent broadcaster and writer, my show, and I've talked about this recently, I was making over $250,000 a year at the height of my radio shows on my own. I was doing the selling. I was the selling of the ads. I was marketing it. I was doing the prize giveaways. I was landing more stations. I was doing everything. So I earned every fucking penny that I was paid to do that show. Okay, so I didn't get into that with them, but they were kind of sizing me up, like, oh, so you're in the newspaper, like that's kind of like really like old school though, isn't it? Like, and I said, whatever. I mean, it's union money, so money is money. I don't really, whatever. I'm in the biggest publication in my home province of Manitoba. That's a well-respected, Now you have to remember, this is going back several years, so the mainstream media was not as wasn't as controversial. People trusted it back then. So we're not in present day. And so I was kind of like, well, whatever. I mean, if you don't think a newspaper is whatever. Oh, but you have a blog though? Oh, okay. All right. Does your blog have a donation tab? Are you begging your readers for money? Because if you are, then you can't really come to me because I have union paycheck from this place and I'm making money. They're paying me to do it. I'm not just kind of writing and hoping that I'm going to get a bunch of, website hits, and that's going to give me, a 20-cent Google ad payment. No, I was getting paid every week. So they did that, and then they were asking about the radio show, and I said, well, it's streaming on a bunch of stations. I'm probably somewhere, on the radio right now or whatever it is. And they're like, oh, so it's like satellite radio? And I said, well, I mean, the stations stream online. So it's an FM station, whatever it is, and they just stream on the internet. Like, it's not a really foreign concept. If you're these young, trendy bloggers, you must know what streaming audio is. You must know that it's, So then they start to look at my Twitter page while we're sitting at the dinner table, and they're looking in, and they start to read, I guess, the entertainment headlines that my account had tweeted that day. So this is where I was kind of like, here we go. You know what? It's not that they weren't being sort of rude. It was just sort of dismissive and judgy. And like I said, I'd been very secure in my career and what I'd accomplished at that point. So this was not offending me, but it certainly was just kind of making me shut down and go, I don't have anything to prove to you two, so you play your little game, do whatever you're doing. Maybe you're having fun with this. I would appreciate it if maybe you wanted to learn from me and go, So they start to scroll my Twitter, and one of them's reading out the tweets, and I said, so this is where I have this turning point, and I said, I have not even gone onto Twitter since I've been here. It's probably one of my staff doing it for whatever the entertainment headlines were today. So yeah, I don't do my tweets. And then it was kind of like, oh, okay. So he doesn't. And at that point I had a company and I had a staff at that point. So it's not like I was lying. So it was like, oh, so you didn't even tweet this? I said, no, our team, we have a broadcast team. This is, I don't normally come and do this by myself, but I guess for some reason, I don't know if they had budget cuts or whatever, they were only bringing me there. So that's fine. I had been there enough. I knew I knew the drill. I knew what I had to accomplish, and I was able to produce this show. I had to get the audio and take the pictures myself. Not a big deal. It was all going to be assembled back in our office anyway. So whatever, as long as it was uploaded every night or whatever it was, then who cares? So they were just, oh, you don't even do your Twitter. And I said, no. And then I just kind of flipped it on them. And I said, so how do you make money then? How do you make money? Like, what do you, tell me what your business plan is. If you're a blogger, you're a food blogger, or you're whatever, a lifestyle blogger, how do you make money? Like, who pays you? Because if you're going to dig into my career and you're going to poo-poo, a radio career or a newspaper career, tell me how you make money then. You're living in your parents' basement. I own 2 properties in 2 countries. So, I mean, you can try to shit on my accomplishments all you want. That doesn't, you're the one living in your parents' basement in Toronto. You can say that Toronto's an expensive city. I have a home in West Hollywood. That's just as expensive. It's way more expensive there. So they start to go and say, well, we're kind of here on spec, which means, I'm scoping it out, and if I happen to write something that gets published, so be it. And then one of them was going to be, she was some kind of a travel expert or something on one of the morning shows. So then I said, oh, I've done a bunch of that, with my best-selling book that I have and whatever. So what do you charge for an appearance then? So if you're their travel expert, what do they pay you, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, they just promote my blog on the screen. I said, oh, so you're not a paid expert then? Well, no. And I said, oh, okay, because when I come on as Winnipeg Cheapskate in, the Winnipeg Free Press or whatever it is, I said, I'm paid. So not only am I promoting my best-selling book, they are paying me to do this content for them. Oh. So, they got to dismiss that, whatever. And then I said, oh, well, I also... I do speaking engagements as well. So at the time, the official guide to being a Winnipeg cheapskate, which later became a best-selling book, picked up for a newspaper column. I had radio appearances, and everybody knew me in the city as Winnipeg cheapskate. I was invited to speak at the women's club, luncheon and all these just different things. The offers were coming in. And so I turned it into a business. And I said, well, this is, I had speaking fees, right? If you want me to come and MC your event or whatever it is, well, that costs you. And so one of them, she said the same thing. She's like, oh, well, I went and spoke at my university. Okay, well, if you don't mind me asking, what did you charge them for that? Oh, nothing. Well, that was my school. Right. Well, then obviously they didn't educate you very well, because they should be teaching you how to make money in the business. And so they probably looked at that and said, wow, she's not even going to charge us? Yeah, we'll get her, and we'll have her back, and we'll have her back, and we'll have her back, and we'll have her back. Because I thought, wow, then she clearly didn't take any sort of business program. Maybe, and again, like I said, back then you looked at a blogger, as a trained journalist, you looked at a blogger as lesser than. You really did. Because the difference between a journalist and a blogger, and now this is a very general overview, because I realize that some journalists have a blog, so there's a blurred line there. But a journalist is a trained professional who is going to give you all sides. So, for instance, when I was on location taping our radio shows, I was interviewing the person who, let's say, owned the business or whatever. So naturally, they're going to say that they have the best cheesecake that they make there, or they have the best coffee, or they have the most fun bowling alley, whatever it is. My job, yes, I was being paid to hype it up, but that's not journalism, right? Because it's called pay to play, where I'm there and I'm going to, whether I have a good time or not, whether the food was delicious or not, it was wonderful. It was the best, because I'm being paid to do that. That is not journalism. Okay, so that's the difference. Now, a journalist would give you the facts and just tell you, they would not editorialize. Their opinion is not seeping in. That's journalism. So I realize the difference. When I'm doing my radio show and we're doing tourism programming, I totally understand I'm not doing journalism in that moment. So much like a blogger, who was really, anytime you read these, 10 best places to see in Pittsburgh, 5 places to visit in Puerto Rico, 3 restaurants you must try in Montreal, all of that is opinion. So whenever I read those, when I see that, I go, this is just somebody who I'm posting it because I like it. I liked the food here, so I'm writing about it. There's no journal. Give me the background. Give me some research. If you're telling me about give me the history of the restaurant. I want to know then. That's a little bit closer to journalism, because you're kind of giving me more information and not just, I was walking down Smith Street and stumbled upon this little cafe. Okay, well, did you interview the owners? Did you do anything to sort of research and give facts about it? Or was it just telling me about what the wall decor was and pictures of your food? Right? So there is a difference there. And so just flash forward back to what I was talking about with these bloggers that were, totally trying to discredit and size me up as to what I was accomplishing or what I'd accomplished in my life. They weren't charging, for their schools to make an appearance and talk about this. They weren't charging for their morning show appearances. They weren't charging for their expertise. So I kind of thought, okay, whatever, that's fine. If that's how you want to, but you're a blogger. You're from Toronto and you're a blogger. So you're better than me. There we go. And so I was kind of like, whatever, fine. And I wasn't combative at all. Like I said, I wasn't dismissive. I wasn't coming at them. I wasn't challenging them. But I was just sort of innocently asking these questions as like, well, so how do you get paid then? So who, what, oh, okay. In an attempt to sort of make them feel lesser than, right? I wasn't going to do it by anything that I wasn't going to come at them swinging and say, oh, so you're a blogger? Oh, you still live with your parents? Well, I don't. I wasn't going to do that. Not at all. I might have been thinking that, but I certainly wasn't saying it to them. I'm just going to have my sort of innocent responses and maybe make them look at that later and go, wow, shit, this guy's really onto something. Wow, he's actually accomplished quite a bit. Wow, jeez. And so I had this full circle moment, and I realized they're already wrapping me up going, you haven't even started talking about this influencer thing, and we're halfway through the show. But fast forward to the very last day when I was leaving, and one of the bloggers was going to the airport the same time as me. And the Whitehorse airport is quite small, so it's not like you can lose somebody in there because it's really just a rectangle. Like once you're in there, you can see from one end to the other. So there's only a few select flights that, kind of go out at any time of the day. We were there first thing in the morning. It was still pitch black outside, and the lineup was just ridiculous. And so I say to, blogger number one, okay, let's just go to the priority check-in, and then I'm not waiting in line. It's fucking, like, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm not doing this. I'm not standing here waiting. So she looks and she's like, I don't think I have priority. And I said, what? It's not. Now, it was called J class. For Air Canada, it was called business class, or first class was called J class. So my ticket had the J class on it. And I said, well, yeah. So she looks and she did not have the letter J. And that's where I was like, this is delicious. This is delicious. So all these 3 days, 4 days of, trying to make me feel like I'm old school, I'm a has-been, I'm whatever. They didn't even bring you first class. They didn't even. And so, again, I'm playing innocent. I'm just kind of playing dumb. I said, oh, well, is that the right boarding pass? Maybe, just check and see. Maybe there was a mix-up or something. I knew that she did not have business class. So that's where I kind of thought, okay, this might be a rude awakening for her. So I go and say, well, I'm going to because at this point, this is my last few minutes with her. I don't give a shit what she thinks about me. So I said, all right, well, I'm going to go check in. I'll see you on the other side. And I went, I got through security. I checked in, got through security, and I was sitting in the boarding lounge. Now, like I said, very small area, very small place. So it's not difficult to kind of, I don't think you can really lose somebody. So I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for her to come through. She doesn't even come in. So I thought, okay, maybe is she just hiding amongst the crowd? Maybe she was embarrassed now. Maybe she's like, I don't know. She locked herself in the bathroom. So, because you're a priority boarding, all right, I'm called up. I'm boarding on the plane first. And as she's coming on the plane, there I am with my glass of champagne, and I have my pinky up too, just for effect. And I go and I kind of do like a cheers and a nod to her as she's herded like cattle to the back of the plane. And for me, that was the sweetest sort of, I was going to say vindication, sweetest sort of victory or whatever you want to call it, because here I am almost having to defend myself, like I should feel ashamed that I'm old school radio and newspaper. But think about how the tourism board looked at you. They didn't get you business class. They weren't paying you to be there. They weren't doing anything that they were doing for me. Yeah, maybe you got the private cottage just as I did, but they flew you the cheap way at the back of the airplane. You didn't get a meal. You didn't get all this other shit. Your room didn't have a hot tub in it in the hotel. So all that kind of stuff, I was kind of like, there we go. There we go. I hope you feel like that. And think about it. Now you're going on a plane for the next 3-4 hours. You got a lot of time to think, my friend. That's going to make you feel like shit. I didn't get first class, but I'm a Toronto blogger. Yeah, well, look how they feel about a Toronto blogger versus an established radio and newspaper guy. Look at the treatment right there. Right there. That was all I needed. Mic drop. That was all. That's all I needed. That was perfect. So when we come back from this break, I'm going to talk to the influencers and maybe kind of give you a bit of a smackdown and a forward-looking outlook, because it's not going to last forever. More on the Scribble right after this.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. SpeakFreeWithJB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
JB here, back on the Scribble with my note to quote-unquote influencers. And so here's the thing. I was on the radio, my syndicated show, for 15 years. Great success, celebrity guests, celebrity friends, red carpets, free shit like you couldn't believe. But when that radio show ended, so did all the perks. I gotta tell you, it was a very, very strange feeling. I went from being able to just, if I had, a certain kind of product in my house and it broke, we could email the company, we could call the company, and a new one would be here in a matter of days. Truly. Or if a new, Samsung tablet came out or whatever, we can hit up the PR team. We'd get one. We'd get a tablet here in a couple days. And travel, I never had to book a trip. I never had to pay for anything. That radio show ended, so did it. And so with these influencers, social media personalities, TikTokers, whatever you're called now, you have to remember that for people who are actually getting paid to do it, it is essentially a job. So you need to think about that. I'm not saying that I didn't think about, what's going to happen when your radio show ends. Think about any TV show, any kind of career that you're in. Eventually it comes to an end, right? You might be in the same industry, but if you leave the job, you're still leaving it. So as an influencer, think about that. If you're a content creator, maybe you're the mom who's got the cute kids and you're exploiting them and you're getting paid. Your kids are growing up though. So unless they still want to make videos with you when they're teenagers, which they won't, then what? You will be a has-been. You've got to figure out. It's why shows like that have kids, like Saved by the Bell or whatever, don't last forever. Right? It's got to come to an end at some point. Right? You can milk it for all it's worth, but especially nowadays, the audience has such a short attention span that then what? And I can already see these people who believe they've got this clout because they've got 2 million followers. They're not going to want to work for somebody. Once you've got that taste of power and that taste of, I can get free shit because I am who I am. When you're done though, and you come crashing back down to reality and you're just an everyday person, think about it this way. Like I said, I spent 15 years on the radio. Well, 20 years on the radio, 15 hosting that one show, 20 years in the newspaper. I was a well-known personality around Winnipeg. But now, people have no idea who I am. Now, I'm okay with that because, like I said, for a big chunk of my adult life, everybody knew who I was. And I'd go into the mall and I'd hear, oh, that's that cheapskate guy. Oh, that's that. So I'm not saying that I was a celebrity, but I was certainly well known. And I'm okay with just laying low. I'm okay walking through a mall in my grubby sweats and sweatshirt and people not knowing who I am. I'm okay with that. I never did have an ego about what I was doing. These influencers, though, it's a different story. Have a backup plan, because, I mean, I was able to retire. So for me, when I left the radio show, I was able to go and say, I don't have to work anymore because I made a shit ton of money. I'm good. But I could see, and I'm admitting this about myself, I could see myself having a struggle, if I had to then go and work for somebody, because I would have that attitude of, I was just on the radio. How dare you want to ask for my references and I'm going to work here? Don't you know who I am? I could totally see myself being like that. And these influencers, my God. So when you think about how they kind of, and I don't really know any influencers by name or content creators by name, but what I'm fascinated by is, if I happen to be, on YouTube, it'll show you, other results or something that you might want to watch. And it'll have like the sensational headline that grabs your attention, so you click it and you watch it. I'm always interested to see, okay, how many followers do they have? How many views does this video have? And how old is this video? And I'm fascinated to see how many of them just kind of drop off. Their last video was 6 months ago. And then you look at that and go, did they finally, have to take a job now? Did they kind of just give up? They've run out of steam. They've run out of content. Now what, right? Now they're just done. They just disappear. At least when I signed off for my radio show, I could do a big goodbye. We did a farewell on the Grand Ole Opry stage in Nashville. We had a big goodbye episode. But for these people, it's kind of like you have 2 million people and you kind of just disappeared. You just stopped posting. You were gone at that point. And what happens? Again, maybe you were making a shit ton of money, but in the reality, you're not going to be a Kardashian where you can just milk the shit out of that for another 20 years. At some point, you run out of steam. At some point, you run out of content. So for everybody who and I say the same thing about these celebrity podcasts. Eventually, they're going to fizzle out, just like every TV show does. You don't have, maybe, the Late Show with Stephen Colbert is on, for 10 years now, but eventually that's going to come to an end for him. And he's making millions. You are not with your little podcast. So that's where I'm fascinated when I see these people on Instagram, these couples that have a podcast together and they've got the big penis microphone in the foot-long microphone in their face and they're, talking, and maybe they have these endorsement deals, whatever. And it's the season. I've never understood why there's a season of a podcast as though they're making it some kind of a big production. I'm in season 3 of my podcast. It's just don't make it. You're trying to make it something that it's not. It's not. No, it's not a season of a podcast. Maybe you're looking at it because the entertainment world kind of does, a season of a television show or something like that. But it's a podcast. If you have a deal, then maybe they will have ordered 12 episodes of your podcast and they might bring you back for another round of them. But to make it like just even having that attitude about it, right? Season 3 of my podcast starts next week. Ugh, that's all I have to say. Really. So influencers, quote unquote influencers, have a backup plan, because unless you're on the 20-year plan, it's coming to an end soon. And how long can you do it without making money? I think I posted this on social media a while ago. If you have a donation or a PayPal or an Amazon wishlist link in your profile or on your bio, whatever it is, you're not an influencer. If you have to beg your audience for money and free stuff, I don't think that's an influencer then. That's a beggar. That's a beggar, not an influencer. So that's also, I guess, maybe that's my advice to the listener who is not an influencer is think about these people that you might be idolizing on TikTok or whatever it is. If they have a Venmo link or a PayPal link or an Amazon wish list link in their profile, they're not doing as well as they might try to make it appear. Okay, that's my tip. Early on, when I was starting to do my show on internet radio and I would be on these streaming stations, they all had donation tabs because they hadn't made a business of their radio station. They didn't know how to monetize that. They didn't know how to cash in on it. I promised myself when I started to post my newspaper column, when I was doing these radio shows, I am never going to have a link for you to send me money. Never going to ask that of my audience. Ever. 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 Somebody's going to be paying me. There's going to be advertisers, or I'm going to be paid for my content in this newspaper, whatever it is. I'm going to be paid for my content on the radio show, on the radio station. but I'm not begging my audience. I'm not putting it out there because that to me just looked, it was tacky. And it was just, I was trying to present this image of I'm a successful radio host. So if I have advertisers and I have, they're paying me for the airtime or whatever it is, great. The station can beg for money. That's fine. But I'm not doing that. And I never did. Because I just thought, now people have no shame. I'm surprised when I see these people who it's their birthday on social media and it's like, it's my birthday, here's my Venmo, send me money. Wow. That would be humiliating to me. I would never do that. It's my birthday, send me money. Yikes. But I'm from an older generation. Remember, I'm old school radio newspaper. What do I know? Apparently I know how to run a business because I retired at 39. There you go. Are we going to take a break or we're done? Take a break on the Scribble. Back in a moment.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
JB here, back on the Scribble. We're running overtime, but you know what? It's not that I'm fired up, but I have such an opinion on this whole influencer thing. So at the end of the day, here's the deal. If it's not paying you to do it, then it's a hobby. So you can say that you're an influencer all you want, but if you're expecting people to give you money and to pay you and just, Venmo you money just because. Now there's a difference between getting a subscriber base where they are, getting a monthly, but in a roundabout way, that's paying for your content, right? I'm saying blatantly just going and saying, send me money. That's different than paying for a subscription to something, okay? So let me be clear on that because I know some of my team was like, wow, no, I get it. But again, here's the thing, is that it's not going to last forever, as I just said in the last segment. Think about that. You could be, top of the crop right now, cream of the crop or whatever you say. But in 5 years, though, are you going to fizzle out of content? And then you're going to have this ego about you where you'll never want to work a job so unless you spin it off into something else, you need to get that ego in check. I never said, oh, we got to go. All right. Well, there you have it. Even as big of an ego as I have that I retired at 39 and I said, fuck you, I've got union money, I still have to go. Anyway, feel free to give me a shout. Tell me your thoughts on influencers, or if you were an influencer and it's all over now, what was the adjustment back to real life, I guess would be the way to say it. Send me an email live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. I will talk to you same time, same place next week. Bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.